What's going on, y'all? Just this is day 5. So talking about, I got a couple of topics that I had written down, and I just plan to do one of these every day, just to get something out there. And one of the topics I had was creativity. Creativity is ageless, meaning like no matter how old you are, creativity can still you can still be creative no matter how old you are. So like young people might look at an old person and think, oh, what do they have to offer? They can offer their creativity. Because if you think about like songs that have been around for years, they're still popular, right? Because they're creative. You can be creative. You can create a song that can be lasting, that can be, you know, years old, and it's still a creative piece of work, creative piece of art. So like if a young person is it thinks that an old person can't offer anything, the old person can be creative and basically like show them up like, look, this is how you can do it. Um like I feel like sometimes younger generations might look at old people and think that they don't have much to offer, um, that their time is past and that they're just kind of useless. But it's not so because like you still have old musicians still playing, old artists still making art. So create you can be creative at any stage of your life. It's always there. Let me see another thing that I had. Um, Regarding podcasts. If you start a podcast or anything with a certain mission and people start to see your work, it gets to a point where they and sometimes they end up deciding what the work mission is about, right? And if the majority of your audience has that similar opinion, then that's what your art is about. Just go with it. Make that your mission. Change the mission to that. Why not? Because your audience sees that in your art. They interpret it that way, so market it that way. Um, like for instance, when I started my podcast, I really didn't have a mission, and people would tell me, "Man, I like what you're doing with your podcast," and I think they would say that assuming like I knew what I was doing or what type of mission I had. I didn't. And then just getting feedback from them, I learned that it's about my community. It's about the community that I'm building. It's about giving a voice to people that don't have a microphone. It's a voice like I'm talking about my podcast, Corpus Christi Originals podcast, and I came up with the tagline, "A voice for the unheard," because I have people that they're not popular in my city. They're just regular normal people like you and me. So my mission has developed since I've begun that podcast, and I didn't even have a mission to begin with. So don't be afraid to change your mission if your audience sees your mission in a different way or in a different light. Um, there's another thing I wanted to talk about, like my kids. As far as my kids, my daughter, she's over there. I looked over there because she's over there watching a movie that we like lately. It's called The Woman from Cabin 10, right, Mama? Well, anyways, I was at Walmart. I got her some makeup and I surprised her with it before she came home from her grandparents' house. And she was so excited about it. It was awesome to see her light up. Like, wow. It was just an awesome feeling to see how excited she was to have that makeup when she got home and we give it to her as a gift. And like she's just growing up. She's growing up. She's wanting makeup and earrings and like a mirror in her room so she can look at herself, put her makeup on and stuff like that. She's growing up from the little girl that just wanted like toys and stuff like that and Barbies and stuff. Now she's turning into a young female, a young woman, and she's wanting makeup and she's interested in her interests are changing. And when I was trying to buy that makeup at Walmart for her, I was asking the clerk, which was another young lady. She was probably early 20s, maybe uh, 18, 19, 20 to like 25 or something like that. But she was like kind of smiling, like she thought it was cool that I was doing that for my daughter, which I'm glad that I get to be in my daughter's life and my son's life. I'm glad that I can be a father to them. Some daughters may not have their father, or some sons may not have their father. It makes me think about there's a little boy that lives down the street, and he comes to our house. He's been coming to our house every now and then, like trying to like selling stuff. Like he sold like some loaded nachos. Like he would make them at his house. It was like Doritos with cream with cheese and meat and beef. Man, it was good. But he came selling his stuff. I was like, whoa, cool. And then he came the other day. He was selling some 7 Ups and some RC cherry drinks. And then that same day he came in the evening, like late at night. I was already getting ready for bed. I had like 3 hours to sleep before I woke up for work, right? And he was knocking on the door. Hey man, can you give me a ride to, wherever this place? And I was like, nah, man, I got to go to bed. I can't, bro. He was begging me. I was like, man, I can't. I have to go to bed. I got to wake up later. And my wife tell me something that made me realize. She's like, well, maybe he doesn't have like a father figure in his life. And that snapped. I was like, whoa, maybe he doesn't. Maybe next time I should help him out, or next time I should invite him over to play with my kids, or invite him to the pool whenever we go to the pool. Just to have some type of male figure in his life. But that was huge for me whenever my wife had mentioned that. Let me see. I got some other stuff like this. Let me see. It's easy to talk about. Okay, yeah, it's easy the topic is it's easy to talk about somebody when they're walking away from you. Like in small conversation, I was thinking about this because I was just having small talk with one of the operators at a place where I go and load propane or Y grade, and we're just chit chatting. And then when the person walks away, and say there's another person standing next to you, and both of you are watching the guy walk away, it's easy for you to like gossip about him. Oh, look, he's a dummy, or just talk about his personality, or talk about how he looks behind his back. And it's easy to do that, right? It's easy to talk about somebody behind their back when they're walking away. The hard thing is to not do that. How much self control can we learn how to have and not do that, right? Even though we're thinking it, right? We're thinking it in our mind, but to not do it and say go on to something else is the challenge. Is something that I think can be practiced, um, so as to help develop character in ourselves, and have people to trust you and know that you're not talking about them behind your back. So yeah, I just had that topic. And what else? Oh, I got some other stuff coming out from my podcast. It's growing in directions I never thought it might have when I first started it. So I'm excited about some of those announcements for the Corpus Christi Originals podcast. um I think Dr. Dre, I was listening to a podcast with him on Drink Champs or something, and he was basically saying that he loves collaborating and working with artists. And and he says to finding people to collaborate with is like basically a job in itself, which is true, because you want to collaborate with people that are of like mind, um just so you can be fulfilled in the long run, right? Like if you have a mission, say you have a business, like I'm wanting to collaborate and even vet guests that come on my podcast to help uphold the mission that my podcast is about, the Corpus Christi Originals podcast. So when it comes to collaboration, I think it's important to vet the people that you're collaborating with, to so you can bring it to your audience the way you want to, so you can bring the audience what they want, um and uphold the mission that you have, and the values that you have behind the mission, which sometimes the values may not be seen by the people that are watching. Like for instance, I try to live my life through big biblical perspective, and I guess quote unquote I'm a Christian. um but I don't blast that on my Corpus Christi Originals podcast. On the Corpus Christi Originals podcast, I don't blast that. but those values they're underneath the podcast because that's who I am. It's my podcast, you know what I mean? So of course, I'm trying to bring out the good in my city and not the bad. And I think that springs from my value system, you know? Um, so just there's my rant and spiel about that here. Anyways, here's day 5, you guys. October 19th, 2025. Stay tuned for the next one. Got for tomorrow. See y'all later. Bye.